St. Bonaventure Catholic Church in Huntington Beach, California presents
Rebuilt and Renewed,
Bringing the Word Home.
A continued Merry Christmas to you all and a Happy New Year. Welcome back to Rebuilt and Renewed. Such an exciting time of the year to reflect on our faith and the goodness of our God. Christmas is all about breakthroughs, and the feast we celebrate this coming Sunday is called the Epiphany of the Lord. That we have a God who has broke through the darkness of the world and that continues to make breakthroughs in our daily lives when we allow Him. This week, Deacon Joe Sullivan graciously shares his witness of how God has broken through to him in many ways and how God continues to use him to break through to others.
This Sunday, we celebrate the Feast of the Epiphany. And each of our readings has the feelings of an epiphany to me. Our gospel recounts the story of the Magi, or the wise men, seeking the newborn king of the Jews. And after all the intrigue, they find him with joy and they offer him gifts. In some countries, Christmas gifts are given on the Feast of the Epiphany, in imitation of the Magi giving gifts to Jesus. The focus seems to be on the gifts that are brought by the wise men, but that's not primarily what this feast is about. The word epiphany is defined as a sudden manifestation or a perception of the essential nature or meaning of something, or an illuminating discovery or a realization. When I have an epiphany, I have a moment of realizing something big, something that changes my way of thinking, changes my life. So I have had a couple of epiphanies in my life, and usually they were in times of trouble. One for sure was when my son passed away at 28, suddenly, right after Christmas. As you can imagine, our family was in great distress, and we were gathering with friends of his. And the thing that I knew, he was living a rock star lifestyle, so I was concerned about his soul. I was just worried about Jimmy's soul. I knew he was a great kid when we got together. He had become quite a gentleman and a help to others, but I wasn't sure what he was like when he wasn't around me. So as we were being prayed for by our community, I had a guy come to say something at his funeral service. This is a guy that was a criminal from my point of view, the only other guy I ever threw out of my house besides my son. And he had been in jail for quite a while and was near done with his term, so that he got a day pass to come to the funeral. And he came up to me after the funeral and he said, "I just wanted to tell you, Jimmy's the only guy who came to visit me in prison." And that led me to an epiphany, which is, I think God has told me he's taking care of Jimmy. And it made me realize that God is bigger, way bigger than I had been thinking. That he has room for people who aren't doing everything right. He has room for the people who just are stumbling around in life, screwing up even. He's mighty, mighty big. And it was great comfort to me to realize how big, how magnanimous, how merciful, how loving God really is. That really brought that home to me. That's an epiphany. The revelation we celebrate at the Epiphany is the incarnation, the amazing fact that God became man. And this revelation is to the Magi, who represent all the Gentiles, all of us who are not originally part of God's chosen people. God has come to be one of us, to walk with us. What a revelation. And as a result of this encounter, there is an exchange of gifts. God's gift is his very self. And all the merciful love and salvation he offers through the child in the manger. And it is appropriate for us to offer gifts to God in celebration and thanksgiving. Our gifts have to be from what we have, and they should acknowledge who God is to us. Now, the Magi offered gold, acknowledging this child Jesus as a king, and frankincense, which we see as acknowledging Jesus' divine nature, and myrrh, acknowledging his human nature, which means he'll experience death like we all do. So, what gifts will we offer God this Sunday? What talent or possession that we realize is originally a gift from God and that says something about who God is to us? What can we give to say thank you to God for becoming one of us, for sanctifying our human nature and sharing his divine nature with us? I love the short story called The Gifts of the Magi by O. Henry. It tells about a young married couple who love each other very much but don't have any money for gifts at Christmas. They each have something that is very special to them. The man has a beautiful pocket watch from his grandfather, and the woman has her long hair, which she thinks is the most beautiful thing about her. And desperately wanting to give her husband a special gift, the wife goes out and has her hair cut off and sells it and buys him a silver chain for his pocket watch, hoping he will still think she's beautiful. And while she's out doing that, the husband is out selling his pocket watch, buying her a set of combs for her hair. And when they exchange gifts, they realize that the gifts themselves are now useless. But the love they have for each other is revealed, and it's priceless. They were each willing to sacrifice the most special thing they had in order to show their love for the other. That's the challenge for us. What gift would you give someone you love who deserves more than you could ever give? What gift could you give to God? For some ideas, I'd like to look at our other two readings. In the second reading from his letter to the Ephesians, St. Paul shares that he has had an epiphany as well, a major realization, a life-changing discovery. He realizes that the Gentiles are called to be co-heirs with the Jews in Christ. And that's a revelation he needs to share with the world. So maybe that's a gift we could give to God, to share his love with others and the good news of salvation in Jesus. In the first reading, Isaiah is foretelling an epiphany when people will realize that God is with us. He calls the people to rise up in splendor and be light, because the Lord's own glory will be rising upon them. He's saying, don't look at the dreary past or even the dark present, but to the bright future, and start bringing God's light to others. Well, in Jesus, the glory of God has indeed shone upon us. God calls his people to rejoice in him, live in his light, and shine so that the nations will be drawn to him. Does that sound like a gift we can give to God, to just commit to letting his glory shine in our lives? So I think it's important to realize that we don't know, we can't even determine where our light is going to shine the brightest. It's my experience. I feel like I've been ready to be a person of faith, letting light shine at my work, in my family, but the place that I realize I've been able to share the most or let God's light shine the most is with friends or fans of my son who is gone, and they found, a lot of these young people found something that connected with them in the music that he's friends and he used to play. And they are looking for connection. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking for validation as people, because a lot of these kids are kind of lost or they're the outcasts. They find each other because they're outcasts from the school or wherever, their family. They find each other, and I find them at Jimmy's gravesite. They're sitting there thinking about things, and I come to visit, especially on, special days like Jimmy's birthday or the day he died, and we can just talk about Jimmy, who we loved, but we can talk about life, and we can talk about meaning, and we can talk about God and the fact that he is there and he loves us. And it's a funny place. I never would have thought to be able to let any real light shine there, but that seems to be where it is for me. So don't feel like you have to plan it out or you have to know when it is. Just live in the joy of knowing God's love in your life, and just let it shine, and others will find you when they need that light. The Lord has come. That's what people long for in their hearts and are ready to rejoice in if someone would let them know it's really true. When a team wins the Super Bowl or the World Series, people run out in the street, crowds gather, and everybody's celebrating. Well, the Lord has come. What are we waiting for? Now, I would like to share another thought with you about the Magi. They saw a sign in the sky that made them think something important was going to happen. A new king of the Jews, favored by heaven. They made a long and difficult, even dangerous journey just to encounter this new and special king. That tells me they were men of hope and faith, willing to risk their lives and their fortunes to be part of something great. They were also astrologers who tried to learn about coming events by looking at the stars. Many ancient peoples were attracted to these astral religions because of the consistency of the stars. They weren't affected by the actions or the intrigues on earth. Some peoples look to the stars for guidance. We as Christians would argue strongly against that. However, it seems to me that God, who wanted to invite the Magi to encounter his son as a representative of all the races and cultures on earth, used a sign that he knew they would see and understand, a sign in the sky, which they interpreted to mean a new king rising from the Jews. God wants to reach out to people using things they can see and understand. So maybe that is a gift we can give to God, and to let ourselves be the sign that others will see and understand, so they can know that a new king has risen up and is with us today. Let's let our light shine.
I thank God for the great gift of Deacon Joe to our parish community. It has been a wonderful opportunity for me to work with the many people who have shared their witnesses so far. I hope this podcast has been also a gift to you. And I encourage you in this time to reflect on those many gifts that God has given us in our life. Especially this new year, maybe we can commit to offering these gifts back to God and to share them with others so that others may come to know and love God in a deeper way this year. A quick building update. We have finally submitted drawings and paperwork for the first plan check with the city. As this goes on, the documents for sending the project to bid will be completed. Once we go through the first plan check and make any changes the city requires, we will submit for a second check and then go to bid. We invite you to please continue to pray for this process, that it goes quickly and smoothly, that we can go to construction very soon. A very happy new year to you all, and thanks for listening in to
Rebuilt and renewed.
Bringing the word home.